This week we take a look at McHenry's triumphs over the week,
the new upper campus principal,
Mr. Wiersman's impact at MCHS,
our sports highlights for the week,
girls softball,
and how the ACT impacts students.
All of that and more on
the Warrior Weekly.
Good morning, Warriors, and welcome to this week's edition of the Warrior Weekly, presented by Warrior Student Media. I'm Riley Radke.
And I'm Elvie Julio. This week, we take a look at the number of exciting events and stories at MCHS.
But first, McHenry's Warrior Student Media highlights some triumphs our fellow Warriors had this past week, including a special health triumph for one of our beloved staff members.
Good morning, Warriors. This segment of the Warrior Weekly is dedicated to students and staff members who had a triumphant week and wanted to share their stories for this week. Hence the title, Tuesday Triumphs. Let's hear what our wonderful colleagues had to say.
I got Starbucks.
One win I've had this week, I bought a new belt.
The one win I had this week is I got the pathology report back from my doctors, and my shoulder is cancer-free. The margins were all negative, so that's a big win for me. No more cancer.
One win I had this week was buying air fresheners.
One win I had this week is I got my boat out of the shop and the water is coming out of the engine as expected, so we're good to go.
Win I've had this week. Listen, we had, not only did I finish my taxes, but we had a great student leadership breakfast yesterday morning out in Rockford celebrating 300 students from the Kishwaukee region on their achievements this year. We'll do it again next week in Crystal Lake for the kids in this region. So that was awesome. Great win.
Be on the lookout for Tuesday Triumph staff for next week. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, we are Dawson Alvarado, Emmanuel Ortiz, and Hunter Hinckley.
Next, let's turn to weatherman Noah Outwater to get the latest update on how this week will look. Noah, over to you.
Thank you, Riley. Good morning, Warriors. I'm Noah Water, local weatherman, and this is this week's weather forecast. We're looking at heavy wind, rain, and storms. Starting out with today, very windy, 66 degrees with lows being 40. Wednesday, still no sun and lots of clouds. Highs being 71 degrees and lows being 49. Thursday, still looking at some storms. Highs of 77 degrees and lows of 53. Friday, heavy thunderstorms. Bring those umbrellas because you're going to need them. 70 degrees with the lows being 50. Saturday, the sun finally starts to say hello. 58 degrees, lows being 41. And that's the weather for the week. Have an amazing day, Warriors. Back to you, Elvie.
Thank you, Noah. Up next, Warrior Student Media investigates the new upper campus principal, Mr. Iserman.
With Dr. Prickett announcing his departure from MCHS, the question of who's next to spread like wildfire amongst the halls. It was no surprise that the school chose to hire within the family. Freshman campus principal Gregory Iserman will be returning to the upper campus as principal.
I am ready. I was at West for 25 years. Before I moved over here, I went to West. 20-ish years ago when I started my admin degree, I turned to my colleagues that were getting our masters, and I said, I think my goal will be to retire as a West Campus principal. And so here we are.
While Dr. Prickett is sad about leaving MCHS, he feels that his replacement is the best choice and will do a great job at the plan he has started.
I'm sad. I have mixed emotions. I'm also, excited for a new beginning, right? Like I said, the right choice, but I also feel great about it because I think that he and I have always shared similar philosophies. So I think he'll be able to carry on, where we left off.
Students in the school are eager to see what the new principal will bring to MCHS.
While I really loved working with Dr. Prickett, I am super excited for Mr. Iserman to start being our principal. He was awesome at freshman campus, and I think he's going to do a great job here.
I think Iserman will be able to run the school effectively. He did a really good job running freshmen.
Taking the time and patience, Iserman has begun to plan for his new job title and the pressure that comes with it.
I've had a lot of great mentors, Dr. P, Mrs. Potoff, Doc Roberts. You go through all of the principals that I've worked with, and I've taken stuff from all of them. The last 2 years here has really prepared me for what that seat will feel like. I understand the importance of that office and that seat, but I think the experiences that I've had in my career have prepared me well to move over there.
MCHS welcomes Iserman into his new job. If you see Iserman within the next few weeks, be sure to congratulate him. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, we are Christine Duckworth, William Denicky, Casey Condon, and Lily Adams.
Next, let's take a look at our sports highlights for this week. Nathan, take it away.
Good morning, Warriors, and welcome to this week's edition of Sports Highlights. This past week, Warriors baseball won 5 out of 5 games with a run differential of 32-16. Also, a special shout out to Coach Brian Rockweiler for 400 career wins.
Boys lacrosse had 2 winning games this week and an astounding 10-4 victory over Boylan Catholic.
In softball, the McHenry Warriors defeated Dundee Crown in an easy victory, winning 13-7 and walking off the field as winners. Lila Effling with a solid 2 runs to help seal the coffin.
That's all for this week's sports highlights. Be on the lookout next week as McHenry's soccer, boys and girls lacrosse, baseball, and softball have some action this week. Have a wonderful day, Warriors.
Speaking of sports, let's swing from the fences as Warrior Student Media learns more about the girls varsity softball team and their season.
As the softball team starts off their season, they're looking forward to coming up with goals as a team. Coach Michaela Mitch expresses the importance of goal setting and having the team become more well-rounded players.
So whatever our goals end up being that we find this year, I want to be able to hit those goals and then destroy them so that we have new goals that we can set for ourselves next year. Personally, so I think it's important that the team comes up with their own goals first. So I don't know what those are yet. I imagine we want to win. I just want to have some kind of success. I just want to help produce more well-rounded ball players.
With the program having many freshmen, there are some athletes who have some more experience on a varsity team than others. Coach Mitch and Connor elaborate on seeing these athletes getting involved with the sport.
8 or 9 freshmen and sophomores, and I think seeing some of them come up and be involved in varsity softball is really fun to watch, and I think it's going to be really exciting.
Our varsity team is, in my eyes, completely brand new because maybe about half of us have some varsity experience, but the other half, because they're kind of new to being on varsity, it creates a brand new team. Each year is a brand new team.
As the team pushes through their games, there are some standout players that really make a difference.
We have some new standout pitchers that are coming in to fill in some spots, which is cool. But I think the biggest takeaway so far and the most exciting thing is just to see that new freshness on the field. And it's just exciting to not know what you're going to get every single time, that's the part that I love about softball.
I think my biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is the growth that I'm going to see in all of our players. Even our seniors, they've got some room to grow. Our juniors have got some room to grow.
Good luck to our Warrior softball team as they battle throughout their season. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, we are Fionn Curtain, Olivia Keeler, Vivian Lee, and Isabel Thompson.
Warrior Student Media highlights one of McHenry's influential teachers, Mr. Wiersma. An avid teacher and coach represents what it means to be a Warrior.
In the halls of MCHS, students and staff run into a friendly yet familiar face each day. McHenry's very own history and government teacher, Mr. Jake Wiersma, a highly respected educator who wants to make a difference in the everyday lives of our students.
What inspired me to become a teacher was actually high school teachers that I had. I was in a program that we have here now called AVID, and really just being in that program as a student is what made me want to become a teacher.
Although rigor and content is important to education, helping students in their personal lives is second nature for Mr. Wiersma.
I try to make class not just about the academic content all the time, so I like students to focus on what are your goals outside of the classroom, what can I help you with in that regard, and I feel like that helps me create better relations with my students and just helps the classroom function better.
It's not an easy job, but Mr. Wiersma gives us a taste on how he never gives up and has a fresh attitude towards his job each and every day.
I try to remember why I'm a teacher, and the teachers that inspired me never really had a boring day in class, so I always just try to keep them in mind and really just put into practice how I was taught.
Mr. Wiersma isn't just a teacher though. He wants to focus on building a culture here at MCHS that highlights the best of each individual.
I keep an open mind. I know students have a ton going on in their own lives and outside of my classroom with their other classes, so I always try to keep that in the back of my mind and just develop good relationships with students so that when challenges arise, they know that I'm looking out for their best interest.
Next time you're in the halls, be sure to stop by Mr. Wiersma's room and thank him for everything that he does here at MCHS. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, we are AJ Chavera, Aiden Kuzmiak, and Nick Perez.
Lastly, as students finish up the ACT last week, Warrior Student Media investigates how students prepare for the exam and how it affects them.
2 weeks ago, MCHS students took the mandatory state testing, but this year there was a big change. Illinois is now requiring the ACT testing instead of the regular SAT testing. Warrior Student Media investigated the thoughts of MCHS staff about the changes in their respected subject.
The ACT opens up so many doors for students. Some of them, quite literally, it gets you into certain colleges. Obviously, higher ACT scores, greater chance of acceptance. The state of Illinois decided to go with ACT. Some people say it's to do with money. ACT maybe saves the schools or saves the state some money, and that's why the switch happened.
2 students perused on how the changes affected their performance on the assessments and the preparation that took place beforehand.
So when it came to preparing for the ACT, a lot of my teachers, like my English teacher and my history teacher, provided us with many ACT practices on their ACT websites. I definitely think it's really good for the sophomores to have that pre-ACT practice because it gets them kind of familiar with that type of environment of like testing and stuff.
Yeah, definitely more than I did this year because I know that the practice ACT is really just like preparing you for next year.
With the testing process finished, seniors prepare to open their next chapter after their final required test in their high school careers. Reporting for the Warrior Weekly, we are Zara Zawede and George Smith.
That's all for today's show. Be sure to follow the Warrior Weekly on all social media platforms, including X, Insta, and TikTok.
For Riley Radke and all of Warrior Student Media, I'm LV Julio. Have a wonderful week, Warriors.